The call came from my own number. I was holding my phone when it rang. My name on the screen, my contact photo. I answered it. The voice on the other end was mine. It said 3 words, and then the line went dead. "Don't come home." The call lasted 4 seconds. Whatever it was, it had said everything it needed to say. I stood in my kitchen for 11 minutes after that call ended. I know it was 11 minutes because I checked the timestamp later. I just stood there, coffee going cold, hand still holding the phone, not thinking, not moving, just listening to the silence where my own voice had been. My name is Nolan Reeves. I am a forensic audio technician. My job, my actual job, is to analyze recorded sound and determine what is real and what has been fabricated. I say this because when everything started, I kept telling myself I had the tools to figure it out. I had the training, I had the equipment. I had 17 years of experience separating truth from manufactured noise. I was wrong about all of it. It started with the recordings I was not making. I work from home. I keep a professional-grade audio interface running most of the day. It captures ambient room tone that I sometimes use as reference material. Low-level background hum, nothing important. In late October, I was cleaning out old files and I found 6 recordings I had no memory of starting. All 6 were from between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. I do not work those hours. I am asleep by midnight without exception. The recordings were each between 40 and 90 minutes long. The first 3 were mostly silence, normal room tone, nothing unusual. I almost deleted them without listening closely. But I am a forensic audio technician. Listening closely is the only way I know how to listen. So I put on headphones and I pulled up the waveform. And buried in the low end, below the threshold of normal hearing, there was a signal, a voice, speaking very slowly, very quietly, just beneath the surface of audible sound. I spent 4 hours isolating it and boosting the frequency. My hands were shaking before I even heard it clearly, not dramatically. Just that fine tremor that comes when your body understands something your mind is still refusing. When the voice finally came through the headphones, clean and isolated and unmistakable, I pulled them off so fast I knocked my coffee off the desk. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall, just breathing. It was reading a list of names, 47 names, and it was doing it in a voice that sounded almost exactly like mine. I ran every authentication test I know. The voice showed none of the digital artifacts that indicate synthesis or manipulation. No splice points, no frequency inconsistencies, no signs of layering. Whatever had spoken into my microphone at 2 a.m. had been physically present in my apartment. Standing close enough to the interface that the pickup had caught the sub-vocalizations, the sounds a person makes just below speech, the sounds of someone choosing their words very carefully. I called my mother that night. I didn't tell her what was happening. I just needed to hear a voice I was certain belonged to someone real. She talked for 40 minutes. I said almost nothing. When we hung up, I felt better for approximately 6 minutes. Then the apartment went quiet again, that specific kind of quiet. And I turned every light on and did not sleep until morning. I called a colleague named Fiona, who works in acoustic forensics for law enforcement. I sent her the raw files without context. She called back in 2 hours. The voice print was consistent with a real speaker. No synthesis markers, no AI generation flags. Then she asked if I had a twin. I am an only child. She said the voice print was closer to my own vocal signature than to any other human voice print in her database. Like someone who had spent a very long time listening to me speak and had begun, slowly, to sound like me. I remember exactly what I did after she said that. I walked to the bathroom. Some instinct. I stood in front of the mirror and looked at my own face for a long time, just making sure it moved when I expected it to, that it did what I told it to. I have not looked in that mirror since. I called the police the next morning. 2 detectives came in the afternoon. They listened to the isolated audio. Detective Harlow asked me to write down all 47 names. I had transcribed them already. She took the paper and looked at it for a long time. Then she looked at her partner. Then she looked at me. She said 31 of the 47 names were in their system, not as suspects, not as persons of interest, as missing persons. 31 people, across 6 states, reported missing over 4 years. No connections between them. Different ages, backgrounds, cities. The most recent had been filed 11 days ago. She asked how I had obtained these names. I told her the truth. She looked like someone who had just found a thread they were not sure they wanted to pull. They put a monitoring device on my audio interface, plain clothes unit outside the building. 3 nights, nothing. On the 4th night, the device recorded 12 minutes of audio and then went silent. Not turned off, not unplugged, silent, as if sound itself had stopped existing. For 12 minutes, their equipment registered nothing. Not my breathing, not the building, not the street. 12 minutes of acoustic absence so complete it flagged as a device malfunction. I asked what happened after the 12 minutes. The detective paused. Then she said the recording resumed, and in the first seconds after the silence, there was a voice, reading names. She said they were running the new names now. She would call back. She never did. Her line was disconnected 2 days later, personal leave. Her partner, unreachable. I checked into a hotel that night. The first few nights I barely slept. Every small sound, the ice machine, a closing door. And I was awake, heart running too fast, staring at the ceiling. I started making mistakes, forgetting words, losing track of what day it was. One morning I found myself standing in the hotel bathroom with no memory of walking there. I was gripping the edge of the sink, both hands, white-knuckled, and I was looking at the mirror, but I had turned my face away from it, instinctively, without knowing I had done it, as if some part of me had decided that seeing my own reflection was no longer safe. I stood there for a moment, just breathing. Then I went back to bed and did not think about it. I caught myself avoiding speaking aloud in the hotel room, ordering food by typing, texting instead of calling, because I did not want to hear my own voice. I did not want to hear what it might be learning from me. On the 14th night, my phone rang. My name, my photo, my number. Don't come home. I sat on the hotel bed and did not move for a long time. Then, without deciding to, I started crying. Not quietly, the kind that comes from somewhere below thought. I cried until there was nothing left. Then I washed my face and did the only thing I know how to do. I recorded my reaction, described exactly what I had heard, sent the file to Fiona. She called back in 40 minutes. She said the voice on my recording, my voice, recorded in a hotel room, was showing the same frequency signature as the voice from my apartment. Not similar, identical. She said my name twice before I answered. Nolan, are you okay? I told her the truth for the first time. I don't know what my voice sounds like anymore. I don't know if what comes out of my mouth is still mine. She didn't have an answer. Neither do I. That was the moment I should have stopped. Instead, I opened my laptop. I do not know what I was looking for. Something to anchor me. Some piece of logic I had missed. I pulled up the original recording. The first one, the night it started. And I did something I had not done before. I checked the metadata. Every audio file carries hidden information, timestamps, device ID, recording environment data, invisible to most people, readable to me. The metadata showed the recording had been started at 1:14 a.m. by a user profile logged into my system, my username, my password credentials, my session. I had not been awake at 1:14 a.m., but something had used my login to begin the recording, something that had access to my credentials, my system, my professional tools, something that had not just been in my apartment, something that had been inside my work. Inside the 17 years of technique and methodology I had built, it had not been studying my voice, it had been studying me, everything I knew, everything I had built, my methods, my instincts, my professional fingerprint. It had needed all of it to do what came next. I went back to the apartment, something closer to compulsion than decision. I sat at my workstation and pulled up every ambient recording from the past 2 months. All of it. And in the recordings from before the name lists, weeks before I noticed anything, there was a pattern in the room tone. Slow, subtle, embedded in the natural acoustic fingerprint of the room. A pattern I recognized immediately, because I had created it. It was a watermarking technique I had developed 7 years ago, a way of embedding an inaudible identifier into a recording's ambient layer, proving authenticity, proving ownership. Someone had embedded it into the air of my apartment, as if the room had been marked, as if I had been marked, not found, not followed, claimed, the 47th name on the list. I had transcribed it, looked at it, handed it to a detective. I found the transcript that night and read it carefully. The 47th name was mine. It had been there from the very first recording. And somehow, I had not seen it. I no longer live in that apartment. I no longer use that audio interface. I have not done forensic audio work in 4 months, not because I lost the skill, because every recording I make now, every file on any device in any location, has the watermark in it. My watermark. Fiona tested 3 recordings last week, different cities, different equipment. All 3 came back positive. She asked if I had applied it myself. I had not touched that technique in months. She was quiet for a long time. Then, Nolan, something is signing its recordings with your name. Then she asked me something she said quietly, like she wasn't sure she should say it at all. When did you last hear your own voice and know, completely know, that it was yours? I have been sitting with that question for 6 weeks. I do not have an answer. What I do know is this. The 47 names on that list, the 31 missing persons, the 16 others, and mine at the end, I cross-referenced them last week against Fiona's VoicePrint database, against every forensic audio file she has ever worked with. Every single one of the 47 people on that list had, at some point in their lives, appeared in an audio recording, a deposition, a voicemail, a 911 call, a recorded interview. Every one of them had a VoicePrint on file. Every one of them had a voice that could be studied, could be learned, could be slowly, carefully replicated. I do not know what it is building. I do not know what 47 voices, studied, copied, refined, become when they are finished. But whatever is signing those recordings with my name, it has been practicing. And lately, when I speak, in that half second before the words come out, there is something underneath. Something slow, something quiet. Still learn.